as I played this character, it felt good. It felt really good to be Randoku because I had a chance to do things that we fantasize about sometimes. Like when someone makes you mad, I always give this analogy. You go to say your mom dies, you go to McDonald's 3 times and they get your order wrong. You got to keep coming back around. How are you going to handle that? Right. Right. In our mind, we want to do something really crazy. It like messes our mind up.
I am excited to talk about this film. It is really quite the interesting thriller. I love me a good detective murder mystery type deal. George, okay. I will come to you first. What about the film, the script, really sparked your interest to want to get behind the camera for it?
I'll be honest with you. As I said in some of the other interviews, it was originally given to me by the producers who I knew, and they said, George, why don't you take a look at this thing? And because, my background, I came from mostly comedies, and so this is a long, big stretch for me. And I read it. And my first instinct was, man, I don't want to do this. This is just effed up. I don't want to do it. And then I talked to Morgan about it. And then Morgan said to me, don't be such a blank. I'm not going to say the word. Let's do this movie together. So you can't say no to Morgan Freeman. So then I started thinking to myself, I didn't want to make an overly stylized thriller, which I think a lot of times thrillers today, they just get increasingly stylized to the point where you don't feel like that it's happening to real people. So I said, you know what, I'm going to shoot this a little more down and dirty documentary-like. And then the next thought I had was, I love William Friedkin's work. I love French Connection and I love Sorcerer. And he did a film called Cruising, which some people have mixed emotions about. But I find it a beautifully disturbing movie, and I watched it a bunch of times. And then I called Billy because I know him. And I said, Billy, I'm doing a movie that you should have done like 35 years ago. And can you give me some pointers? And he gave me some thoughts about how to approach the material. And he said, do it without filters. Don't get scared. Don't backpedal. And he goes, you may end up with something that's somewhat abhorrent, he said, but so what? That's your job. You're a filmmaker. Don't be afraid, because there's a lot of bad behavior in this movie. And your hero, if you could call him that, is highly flawed. He's insane in a lot of ways. He's talking to his dead wife, like she's still alive. And he's crazy and he's violent. And then he comes up against a violent man. And anyway, so I just said, okay, I'm not gonna make judgments. I'm not gonna do heroes and villains in my head. I'm just gonna tell the story, and that's how I approached it.
Well, it's a very honest approach to the material, and it worked really well.
Thank you.
I'll come to you next. What about the material really sparked your interest? I mean, we're so used to seeing you as well in some comedies in the past. What was it like diving into something more serious like this after even some of your more recent action roles?
Yeah, there was a lot of correlation with some things that happened in my life with my mom and myself as a kid. So when I read the script, I was like, wow. But when I first read the script, there was a character in there named Vernon. So I was like, wow, this script must be meant for me. There was so much correlation, and I wanted to live the life of this character. I wanted to be in it because I knew it would be therapeutic for me. And after that, I was like, I reached out to the producer and I kept, contacting him, and he gave me the part.
What was it like for you then? I know you say there's a lot of correlation in the role, but I mean, what was it like for you really diving into this deeply disturbed killer?
Yeah, it was really dark. It gave me anxiety after I was done. It was very dark. I never imagined myself playing a role like this, but life is all about being unexpected, right? If it's unexpected, then that means you're moving in the right direction. So as I played this character, it felt good. It felt really good to be Randoku because I had a chance to do things that we fantasize about sometimes. Like when someone makes you mad, I always give this analogy. You go to say your mom dies, you go to McDonald's 3 times and they get your order wrong. You got to keep coming back around. How are you going to handle that? Right. Right. In our mind, we want to do something really crazy. It like messes our mind up. You just want to kill. You say, I want to kill this lady. Right. So I get a chance to tap into all of that. Right. I get this other side, this alter ego. That's something you can't do in real life, but you can do it in a movie. So it felt really good. Felt really good in a good way.
Well, it's rare that somebody can take away something good from playing a villain. So there you go.
Yeah.
I also love his appearance between the scars and the way he dresses and everything. And so I'm curious, both George and Vernon, was that a group collaboration between the two of you? Was that in the script already? How did that look come about for Rendu?
It was in the script, and Joe Lemon, who was one of the producers, researched this heavily. When I started this, I knew nothing about Muti or how it all worked. And then I went online. I looked what the Warriors looked like. They did all kinds of things to their bodies and faces. Each thing had different meanings. But I just let them do it. I wasn't going to get in the way of it. And then obviously Vernon had a lot to say about it. But I'll let Vernon answer. I just let actors go. I mean, that's as I said in another interview, it seems absurd to me to put a lot of talented people in the room and then micromanage them. I don't understand that. So, right, you get all these people together and then everyone works on making something work, hopefully. It's like, let them go, let them create.
So Vernon, I'll come to you then. What was it like, helping put together Ndoku's appearance for the film?
It was great. I walked into wardrobe the first day I arrived, and we were trying on all these different garments, and I saw this shirt it had one gold button, and then we decided. I said, "Hey, can we do all the buttons all the way down in gold?" And we did. It really embodied the character. I think it fit him just right. Being from South Africa, you want to show really good. You want it to be. You want to look. I want this character to look rich and full. You know what I mean? But it was great. It was fun. A lot of fun picking out the wardrobe.
It definitely, like you say, it works towards better emphasizing his roots and what he is about. George, I'll come to you next. You mentioned about your lead character being this damaged protagonist who is talking to his dead wife. I'm curious what it was like then finding the perfect person to bring that type of character to life, because Cole does it so well in the film.
Well, it's funny. We talked to a lot of people, and then somebody mentioned Cole, and I went like, "Oh yeah, Yellowstone. I love that show." And I got on the phone with Cole, and we talked about it. And I find that you can tell within seconds, within a minute, if a person has a grip on something and what they want to bring to it. And what Cole said to me was he was a guy that when you see him on the outside, he looks like he's functioning. But the second he's alone, you realize how effing crazy he is, his demons and his thoughts when he's alone in that house. But, to me, it's like a lot of authority figures. You see a person in uniform, you see a person, you assume because of a uniform or because of whatever, be that a soldier, a policeman, a politician, you assume they've got their stuff together, but you don't know what they're like at 3:00 in the morning at the end of the bed, So that's what we were playing around with. And I hope people understand. One film critic got particularly nasty that the film is advocating police brutality. I didn't see it that way at all. I think that this guy is an inch away from completely going crazy, and that's why he's behaving the way he is. So I obviously the person didn't get it, but no, I was saying that a very damaged, crazy human being was chasing another evil person, and they're both sort of evil in different ways to me, so I thought that was interesting, so anyway, that was the intent.
I definitely didn't feel what that one critic was saying, so I will join you in the defense of that character.
Thank you.
Vernon, I will come to you next. You have a little bit of interaction with Cole in the film, but a lot of your interactions comes with Morgan as far as the good characters. And I'm curious what that was like for you. You've been acting alongside a few heavyweights in recent years, but what was that like for you coming face to face with Morgan and in this very intimidating role?
Well, first, and realistically, in real life, I'm shaking, I'm trembling, I'm sweating. I'm like, this is Morgan Freeman. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what this guy's going to do. He's going to tell me I'm not doing a good job or what? I don't know. but no, it was great. It was great standing, being in the midst of a legend, an icon. But working with him was truly amazing. Like we had one scene where I was walking towards him with a knife, and I made a choice, but he said, "Try this," and it was very subtle. Just dropped it, looked at him, looked up, and then walked towards him. He loved it. He loved. He said, "Yeah," like that. But it was wonderful being on. I didn't know what to expect because I had never worked with him, but after leaving, I was very, very impressed.
Was there anything that you tried to then glean from him while working with him, given his length of experience in the industry for moving forward in your acting career?
Oh, yeah. We talked about everything. We talked about just being subtle and just all the little nuances that you need as an actor. And we talked about the film a little bit, but more so just the craft and kind of like the intention behind the scene. And George will tell you, too, he and Morgan would have debates, every now and then. Morgan he's very logical, so he wants to really understand like what's going on. Why am I doing this? So I was just looking at that, taking it all in, and just watching a legend go to work.
I went through a similar thing that Vernon's talking about. The first movie I made with Morgan, because I look up, this is my fifth. It was several years ago, and I woke up early and the first thing I was going to shoot on this movie was Morgan Freeman. And I only met him for dinner the night before, and that's already intimidating, And then, so I meet him on the set the following morning, and he walks on set fully in wardrobe. And he goes, "All right, where do you want me to stand?" And I went, Mr. Freeman. He goes, "Cut that out. It's Morgan." I went, "Okay, this is Morgan Freeman. This is God, for crying out loud." He says, "What do you want me to do?" I says, "Well, I'd like you to stand here at the window and say the line. And then when you get to this line, you turn, you'll step into the light on that turn and blah, blah, blah." So he goes, "All right." I said, "Do you want to rehearse?" He goes, "No, F it. Let's go." So we went, okay, so action, and we roll. And he crushes it in one take, crushes it. Okay. And then I say, "Cut." And he goes, "Anything else?" And I said, "No, Mr. Freeman, that was actually perfect." And he said, "You and me are going to get along just fine." And after that, we became like best buddies,
I was going to say, here you are 5 movies later, or 4 movies.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So for my final question, George, I'll come to you. You talk about your past in comedies and how you were initially hesitant to do this. So was there any one scene in particular that you found extra challenging or extra intimidating to help put together for this one?
It's a quick scene in the movie. When Vernon was in the room at night with the little boy and the candles, and I had to force that kid to cry because he was jamming up a little bit as a young actor, and I was trying to get him to cry, and his mother was there, and she was like holding his hand off camera, and he's bawling, and Vernon's walking around saying all that ritual stuff, and I'm like, man, I can't wait for this night to be over. This was tough for me, Anyway.
That sounds like quite the tough night of production.
Yeah, well, plus we're shooting in a really rotten location. We're in this sort of, I don't know what you'd call it, some abandoned place out in the middle of nowhere in Mississippi. And there's like cicada bugs, I guess they call them. And they're so loud, you can barely hear yourself think. It was like 110 degrees. It was the middle of the summer, right? And then we had all the candles going, and this kid's crying, and the mother's there, and we're trying to shoot, and Vernon's in his head doing his thing, and I'm just like, I kind of made me miss doing a comedy, but I think it's a good scene.
I couldn't agree more. It's a scene that really emphasizes how terrifying Vernon can be in the film, and really just brings it all together. So I am getting the rap signal. So thank you both so much for taking the time to chat. I do greatly appreciate
it.
Absolutely.
Have a good rest of your week, guys.
Our pleasure.